In a world where change is the only constant, Mo Shamil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Title Agents Podcast. I am your host, Mo Shamil, CEO of Alltech National Title. Today, I have a pleasure to be joined by Aaron Davis, CEO of Florida Agency Network. From scaling one of the largest title operations in the Southeast to being at the forefront of technology and automation, Aaron brings a powerhouse of insight. We'll talk about building a successful team, adapting through market shifts, leveraging technology, and why giving back is just as important as growing your business. Let's jump in. Well, Aaron, welcome to the show. Well, as we start off every episode, we'd love to hear your story, your background, how you got into the business, where you went to school, the family, all that fun stuff.
Oh my gosh. I got into the business kicking and screaming and begging to not stay in the title industry. That was my intro. It's called being born into the business. And thanks for having me, Mo. I appreciate you having me on. So my story is probably like a lot. Title seems to be very much a family business. Oftentimes like generational businesses. My mom started our original title agency was called Hillsborough Title. She created it now 41 years ago. We just celebrated our 40th anniversary last November. She had just recently divorced my dad. She was 26 years old. I was, I think, 8 years old. My brother was like 5 or 6, and she started a title company in Plant City, Florida, which is an agricultural farming community just east of Tampa. It's more widely known as the winter strawberry capital of the world.
Never heard of that, but now I learned something.
There you go. Now you know the winter strawberry capital of the world.
Not a summer, not a spring, winter.
That's right. So, so heavy agricultural community, population of, call it 32,000. And she started the title company. And like any small startup business, if you've got kids, you just bring your rugrats and tell them to sit in the corner. So my job was picking staples out of the carpet and refilling the paperclip jars.
Make copies and whatever.
That's right. That's right. So
my son loves go to the office. He's 11 years old, but his motivation, we have Dr. Pepper. He'll do whatever it takes for a can of Dr. Pepper. I'm like, hey, cheap labor.
That's right. If we get to hit the snack bar or the bubblegum machine on the way in, then that's a win. Literally, I was, I jokingly say I've been born into this industry. I'm 49 years old, and so I've been working here since 9. I was 9, so I'm in my 40th year in title.
Is your mom still involved, or is she retired?
She recently retired. I had to, I joke with everyone. I say there's 2 ways into this business. You're either born into it like me, or you're tricked into it like everybody else. And there's one way out, and that's a pine box. Fortunately, my mom is not in a pine box. She is not deceased. She is still with us. And she just retired about a year ago, more so just to take care of my grandfather's getting up there in age. But when she kind of transitioned the roles, she really, her passion was really title examination. She really loved solving title problems. And that was her passion all along. It wasn't necessarily owning a business or selling or closing. It really was like the art of solving the problems, is figuring out a creative way to get a deal closed that a traditional underwriter or a traditional attorney may not have thought about. Let's get an affidavit from the brother-in-law, or let's go ahead and there's an easement problem, and let's go ahead and create a transaction in order to buy the problem rather than going a traditional route. So she just enjoyed that part of it.
Awesome. So when did the name change from Hillsborough to Florida Agency Network?
Yeah, that's a story in itself. So I purchased my mom outright in September of 2008.
Perfect timing.
But yes, the best timing of all time. I learned how to lose a lot of money really fast. So we during that period of time, just from I'd gone away from title. I went to University of Florida, got a degree in finance. I thought I wanted to be a stockbroker. So I was a Series 7 and Series 763, 215. I got all the licenses. I worked at a financial planning firm for a few years. But those years, unfortunately, were 99, 2000, and 2001, which was a prior recession. So that was the dot-com tech bubble bust. So that tech bubble bust put me right back into title insurance, where I came back to my mom begging for a job. So from there, learned operations, learned, more. I, grew up in the business. So I was the company courier, post-closing, processing, closing. And then once I came back in, I started to learn more of the operational side and management and people and, growing a business. So I bought her out in 2008. We still only had just one office, and we'd just opened a satellite location down the road. So, small business with, 10 or 12 employees doing 30 closings a month. We survived the downturn. We went through 2008, 9, and 10. After that, we started to acquire other companies, grow in different geographic locations. So her business was, again, it was Hillsborough Title. So that is Hillsborough County, Florida, where Tampa is located. But when you try to grow into neighboring counties, there's a geographic limitation in people's minds. So we couldn't continue that brand when you're going into Pinellas or Polk or Pasco counties. So we started the multi-brand strategy. So we started affiliated businesses with, different real estate brokerages around the area, started acquiring neighboring companies. And so once we realized we needed to create some sort of unifying brand, we created the Florida Agency Network. So now it is a network of independently operated title agencies in and around, now at that point, Tampa Bay, Central Florida. We had offices in South Florida, Miami. So I think at that point we were up to 30, 40 locations, 12 or 13 different brands via acquisitions and affiliated businesses. And that born the Florida Agency Network.
That's awesome. So you've grown the Florida Agency Network into one of the largest title operations in Florida. What were some of the key decisions or strategies that helped you scale successfully?
Let's see. Well, I think first and foremost, you can't do it without the best people in the industry. So I was very fortunate along the way to just, I think I was always very active in the industry. I think if you go back in the, 80s and 90s, there was very much of a defensive mindset. I think people were very territorial, and they never really networked with their neighbors, and they never really went to, a lot of small agents never got involved in land title associations or Alta or anything else. So I just took a different approach and got to know everybody. And when the downfall started to occur, people start to run. And so you got, they get layoffs and corporate shuts down 20 offices and, chaos occurs. So it was first was just hiring great people. My president of operations, Amy, has been with me for now 17 years. So she joined me, early on in the growth. And then, as we started to grow and pick up great closers and great books of business and acquisitions, a lot of those acquisitions had great people in it. So we started to develop, what is now a very robust leadership team. So can't do it first without people, and a great culture, because anyone can go work anywhere else for a paycheck, but they have to love what they do, and they have to love who they do it with. So I think that was literally the foundational element of, what created our success was people and culture.
Looking back, what's one challenge you faced in building the Florida Agency Network that turned out to be a major growth opportunity?
Well, I tell you, this is, years ago, this was such a subject that we didn't discuss as agents. There was an embarrassment, if you will, around like wire fraud. So this is now, for me, this is 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we were hit early on with one of the first business email compromise cases in the country. It was all new to us, where there was, it was a sophisticated closing. There was lots of moving parts to it as a commercial transaction. And, and all of a sudden, we close on close on a Thursday, and it's a holiday weekend, and then Monday rolls around, and the sellers call in looking for their funds, and you're like, well, here's the confirmation, I sent it to you, and turns out we sent it to the bad guys. And so that we had wired $2.3 million to the bad guys, and thankfully we jumped on it, and we're able to do a lot of things. But I took the position in that transaction based on the players involved, and based on certainly I'm going to get this money back soon. I funded that money out of my pocket. So I liquidated a lot of my personal assets. I put a lot of my personal cash. I took a bank loan out to fund $2.3 million to keep everyone else safe. And then I said, I will chase this down. So we are now 10 years later, and I still do not have that money back. It's thankfully it's isolated. It's in an account. That's a whole other story. But going through something like that makes you, that will definitely, for the most part, that usually sinks agencies. That's something that people can't fund. But I'm like, I'm not letting a mistake, take us down. So we created an IT company out of that. We created our centralized services division out of that. We went full compliant SOC 1, SOC 2, bringing in a CISO on staff. I mean, so we got heavy into the IT infrastructure and centralized processes, so that there's always eyes on the transaction, double checks and triple checks. A centralized wiring division. A lot of times that back then, I think everyone had like wiring process was at every single branch, perhaps. So we just brought everything. We just started thinking about what can we do to protect ourselves going forward, and that was our IT division, Premier Data Services, and then our back office company, Network Transaction Solutions. So that was kind of a huge loss and a massive, a devastating thing for me personally. Created the infrastructure and the foundation of what we are today, which is the Florida Agency Network, which is Network Transaction Solutions, which is Premier Data Services, and now our consulting company, Closing Suite. So that was literally the what could have just cratered us, made us 100 times stronger.
That's awesome. That's resilience at its best, and truly turning a lemon into a lemonade. It's kudos to you. I'm very proud of you, bro.
Thank you. I don't suggest anyone doing that, by the way. Viewers watching at home, please do not do that. Listen to what they do. Don't do as I say. What's that? Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, do that one.
That's wire fraud and social engineering is truly it's a big problem. Like when we have all the tools and all the services, and still like mistakes happen, and just chasing the money, and
The worst from a title agent's perspective, in years past, prior to then, the worst that could happen is you could have missed a tax bill, or you could have misprorated a payoff on, so the worst could happen. You could lose a couple $1,000s on a file. Yeah. I never thought in a million years that you could just lose $2.3 million overnight.
Wow. I hope one of these days we'll be able to retrieve that money. We're gonna go on a trip together.
I'm literally months away. It is now 10 years later. We passed like a lot of different obstacles to get there. So the money is supposed to be on my way. So it has been what I call my forced savings account. If I had that money in my pocket back then, I probably would have just made stupid decisions with it anyway. So now I'll have a reason to actually celebrate.
That's awesome. So let's talk about M&A, mergers and acquisitions and expansion. You've acquired and partnered with multiple agencies. What's your approach to integrating new teams and maintaining a strong company culture? That's one of the most challenging, that integration and trying to mesh different cultures and people and teams. And
yeah,
so it's been a challenge for us. I would love to hear how you've done it and how.
It is. It starts with knowing it starts with you being a known quantity in your market for having good culture and good people. Because if all of a sudden, if news hits that I'm purchasing, ABC Title down the road, if that staff and those leaders and everybody else think that we have a bad reputation, that just blows the whole thing up first and foremost. So again, back to people, leadership, and culture. That's first and foremost. but of the folks that are being acquired, it's the same. Like you have to do so much due diligence on who's being acquired, that the people are great, that they have a great reputation, that they and I liken it back to an acquisition we did back in 2013. Paramount Title was down the road. They had been in literally. Jim Farr had started his company the same year my mom started. They were started in '84. We were in '84. We were great competitors for years and years and years. And I just had such a high admiration and respect for what they built. And you never lost a deal because there was undermining and dirty dealing. It was always just good competition. And I met him at a conference, and we just struck up a conversation, a little sidebar, and I said, I'm looking to acquire companies, and he said, well, I'm actually looking at retirement at some point, and I'd love to have that conversation with you, and I respect you. So it was a very organic conversation. It just flowed. It worked nicely. I mean, one of the things that we did early on is like we both said, and I suggest a strategy to everyone. If I said, look, let's just write down our top 5 things that are important to us. So the top 5 things, and we jotted them down, and then we traded them. And what was interesting is money was not number one on either one of our lists. So money is number one on the list. I just, if you're looking for the highest bidder, I'm not your guy, but if you're looking for the right fit and the right culture and the right structure and what's going to work for everyone, then let's talk. So that company, now, they had about a dozen employees. I'd say, I think 8 of them are still with us to this day, 12 years later, and 5 of them are now leaders in our company. They have moved up the ranks from just working at a branch or two to now managing divisions.
That's fantastic. And how do you the integration piece, especially when you have different systems, different platforms, going to I know you're big on technology and automation, going to a paper company, it's how you've done things, and how do you combat that, or how do you kind of make that smoother?
That takes a while. I mean, that takes a dedicated team. I mean, especially if you're on different title production systems, so you've got the marriage of title production systems. Eventually you do want to put everyone, I believe, on the same system. There's a few pieces of technology out there that are starting to connect the dots on, in some. But for the most part, you can't always get, title production system 1 to talk to 2, to talk to 3, to talk to 4. It's clunky, but it's getting there. There are some, like I said, some good tech companies out there that are making tremendous strides in doing so. So the tech stack is important, evaluating that tech stack, and then checking out, are they just so far apart? Are we talking one's running on AI learning and the other's a typewriter? So if you're acquiring a company that's still running on typewriters and whiteout, I use that jokingly, but if they're so far behind technologically wise, that their folks are going to see change as fear, fear of change, that's going to be problematic. So, and so that's, again, it's another one of the assessments of the cultural pieces you have to make sure these days that everyone sees change as it's going to make their lives better. If there's roadblocks along the way and they're not going to see the betterment of it, you're going to have an issue the entire time. So the integration's key. Eventually getting everyone on some sort of unified, front, so that you can manage all of these operations, and have everything flowing through, to like a back office, so that you can manage, reporting and accounting, and all those things are super important. And then the management, the change management of the staff is just hugely important. You've got to have people. You can't just stroke a check. Hey, we just bought you and hope for the best. Like, it doesn't work that way. You just wasted all your money if you did it. So if people can see that your system, it is, get the buy-in of the person being acquired, by them looking at how well your operation runs, and seeing the efficiencies there, and selling them like, wow, did you guys know that if you that we're now going to not have to do post-closing at the branches. It's not, we're not going to have to, your closers aren't going to be have to email and fax for funding and initiate wires and do the post closing themselves anymore. Just little wins like that when you can tell them like, this system is a better system and makes your life easier.
That's all. Let's move to automation and technology. So Florida Agency Network has been a leader in adopting technology. What role has automation played in improving efficiency and the client experience?
Yeah, we're sometimes a more bleeding edge than cutting edge when it comes to that. But you know what? But we enjoy it. I grew up in a title agency. I'm going to guess I'm one of the few out there that can say that I've been in title for literally 40 years. To see a company come from no technology, we had typewriters and whiteout, and then our first servers, Novell servers, DOS-based primetime systems, dot matrix printers, policy and triplicate, hand balancing HUD statements. To go from that to then, like, I literally acquired our first email domain, hillsboroughtitle.com, and then emails, and then servers, so to go from no tech to AI, we've seen it and we've lived it. So, and my folks too, we've all been in the industry to kind of see that progression. So you're looking at the progression needed for your clients, your consumers are getting younger and younger and more tech savvy. And so the expectation is click button, buy home. That's what we have to be able to produce at some point. So we're constantly working on ways to bring in new technology to say, how can we eliminate steps in the process? How can we eliminate duplicate data entry points? How can we make things more seamless along the way? So there are some folks invest in title production systems to do that for them. Changing title production systems is difficult. I tell people, it's like between changing my bank account and my title production system, I'd rather just cut off a pinky. I'd rather lose a toe or two. Maybe, I could probably still balance without a middle toe. But that's painful and difficult. But what's great is these days is there are so many add-on technologies and so many integrated technologies, whether that be communication tools, front of the house, whether that be AI performing automated order entry, AI now doing a lot of the post-closing, tech stack, also just implementing better communication tools and a lot of video. So it's like all these pieces we're having to realize your consumers are you got to meet consumers where their expectations are, and their expectation is on my cell phone and in my text. And so those are the things that we've been focusing on for years now, and we've got AI on the front end communication wise, outbound on file communication. We've got it on the order entry side of the house. We've now implemented on the post closing side of the house. We've got it underlying all of us on the IT infrastructure for better cybersecurity and better spam management. So yeah, we're bought in, and I'm using now Grok daily, 10 times a day. I'm Grok and ChatGPT.
So what the title production software are you using? When I'm not here to promote anybody, but just
no. And I'll tell, there's a lot of fantastic ones out there. We moved on to Soft Pro Select back 10 plus years ago. And I love their tech, and I love the ability. My thing is always, I need to be able to control my database. I need to be able to control my data, and I need to be able to customize my workflow. And I want to be able to use the tools that I want to use. So I want to use the CRM of my choice, business analytics tools of my choice, AI integrations and tools of my choice. So I just really like the flexibility and customization that it brings to me. But there's a lot of them that do all of those things in a combined closed loop unit, and so I'm still give you the ability to customize at will.
You talk about post closing, some automation and AI. Is that a proprietary, something you built, or is you using off the shelf?
No, and actually, we've got a few different. We've used Alana, and then now we've used a reel for different pieces of it. But Pythonic has a fantastic piece of tech as well. So there's a lot of different providers out there. It is just
Pythonics. I've not heard of it.
Pythonic.
Pythonic.
Yeah.
Python.
Yeah, So they've got some great. But I sat it on a demo of it was three of the different providers on their post-closing automations, and they're fantastic. And they some of them have better integrations with different TPSs than others. So if you're on Resware, this one looks good, and if you're SoftPro or RandQuest or what have you, or Qualia. But ours was it was we have such a custom environment that we need the ability to customize. So when an order comes into my universe, we put in the triggers. So it's order comes in, contract is read, auto fills, all of the order entry fields, and automatically fires off title search, lien search, and HOA. Like boom, boom, boom. We want to build those automations, and we want it. And every title company kind of does things differently. So I just like the flexibility and freedoms that all of our providers have given to us.
Yep. So how are you leveraging technology for cyber fraud protection?
So we are utilizing, we're utilizing certified. We're utilizing.
They're awesome, yeah.
Oh, certified. We're utilizing proof. We are utilizing and the name of it escapes me right now, but it is on. We have a piece of technology built into Outlook that is automatically detecting, spam type emails or phishing type email scams. We have the ability to just click a button. If one person gets the email, you can click a button. This looks fishy, sends it to the review team. They review it and then whitelist it. But then two, that if you have a person that consistently is maybe causing the problem, then it'll automatically isolate that person and then put them into a training mode. So and all of those have an AI component to them. And again, it gets smarter and smarter because it's learning your environment.
So how do you think AI is going to add more value to the title industry besides the data entry piece and like the data stacking of documents and post closing?
It's I caution everyone. I mean, we all went down the blockchain road a few years ago and thought that blockchain was going to be the end of us, and then we thought that OCR and the RPA, robotic process automation, and then this is just going to put us all out of business, and then now AI is going to put us all out of business. We're finding that AI is just augmenting and adding more ability to the staff. So I utilize like order entry, for instance. We used to have 5 full-time employees doing order entry every single day. Orders come in, type, copy, paste, do all this other things. So now that is down to one person who is in charge of quality control over that entire division. But those people, we don't just like automatically fire the people. They get to they're promoted into other divisions. So now it's just, we're just trying to take those duplicate processes and streamline those. AI is going to assist us with underwriting and the capability of we get all these information from underwriters, and we have to log into their systems, and we have to, check all this information. AI is going to help us in that functionality. The underwriters have already, implemented it on their side to speed up the searches.
You got to check out my title GPT.ai.
Please do.
It's to solve. It's on its baby stages, but it's exactly for that to solve that problem.
And I talked to so many agents, and I've got agents who have created basically a ChatGPT overlay on their entire database. There's a new tool that's just come out just here recently that will read and analyze your entire title database. Basically, just imagine ChatGPT on top of your database, and I could just query, hey, pull every single buyer in the last 4 years with interest rates above 7% and give me all of their emails and cell phones. Like that type of ability. And by the way, now let's go ahead and just automatically dump that into a marketing campaign and do an outbound text to everyone, because today's rates just hit 6.5. You could save $400 a month on your bank. That's where it's at.
Yeah.
Oh, it's powerful. And it's being an asset to our clients as well. Because how many people are in our databases from 10 years ago that the lenders are out of business now? So it's just it's smart. It gives us a better positioning, a better value proposition in the real estate the ecosystem.
That's Well, let's shift gears to philanthropy and giving back, which is big to me and you. You're a big philanthropist, and so you're a big advocate for giving back. Can you share some the philanthropic initiatives that the Florida Agency Network and you personally involved in?
Yeah, we like everyone. I think we're very, I think we're all passionate about, our local charities, and we do, we're volunteering all the time, and we're always giving back monetarily, physically, et cetera. One thing I fell into by accident a few years ago. I'm originally from Tampa, Florida. I currently live in Austin, Texas. I started dating a girl long distance, several years ago. We actually met on LinkedIn, so we actually turned LinkedIn into a dating app. So if anyone wants to go offline,
Did not know that.
No, I did not know that. So we met professionally, but we got a spark. So I ended up moving to Austin, Texas. I was dating from afar. And there was a natural disaster that hit here several years ago in Texas, a severe snowstorm. And my girlfriend at the time, it flooded out her house, and it created all sorts of chaos. I flew in to help her out, and I went and volunteered. And long story short, this volunteer work landed me in People Magazine. So there was a story done, and I took the story and I promoted it to my LinkedIn and to my social medias, and I ended up raising $100,000 for this little local fire department to help their firemen go out and chainsaw trees off the little old ladies' houses and that sort of thing. So that was an accident, but it ended up kind of putting me on a path, and that path was around natural disasters. For whatever reason, my calling in life, I guess it is helping people that have suffered in a natural disaster. So now we've done a snowstorm in Texas. I'm from Florida. We've done multiple, hurricanes. So I ended up the hurricane a couple of years ago. Me and my brother, hurricane impact was in Port Charlotte, Florida. We went and loaded up our trucks with about 30 chainsaws, drove down, started helping the community, and putting the chainsaws in the hands of people that could that can use them. That ended up in People Magazine again, and the next thing you know, we get a call from the Kelly Clarkson show. So now we're flying to Hollywood. Kelly Clarkson then donates 30 chainsaws to our efforts. So now we're like, I'm the Tampa Chainsaw Man, and we're the Chainsaw Brothers. And then this last hurricane that Milton that hit right in my hometown of Plant City, it was a Cat 5, directly in impact. It just flooded out the entire town. I flew in, bought 100 chainsaws, bought thousands of meals, and was just trying to help, because literally our office park was like ground zero. The whole town's without power. People didn't have any food, so we went in there to do the thing. So this natural disaster thing seems to be one of my callings in life. So I'm in the process of starting kind of a foundation called HERO, Hometown Emergency Response Organization, and my goal is to be able to help folks that are in those harm's way and natural disasters come in and make decisions. Because what I find is, when you get impacted, your brain doesn't function, and you're just trying to worry about your family and your livelihood and your friends and getting yourself out of harm's way. If I'm able, or other people that can help me, we can come fly in and not be connected to the disaster, but work and act like CEOs, like mini FEMAs. Get there before the Red Cross and FEMA and all the federal agencies get there. But those first few days are huge, and that's where the biggest needs are. So that's kind of been my new calling in life. Continue to fundraise, bring awareness, and help folks in natural disasters.
Yeah. So for title professionals looking to make a difference in their communities, what advice would you give them?
We are a very geographic industry. And I think every agent does a great job with this. They're always so involved. They start their agency, they start their business, they get involved in local Rotaries and Kiwanis clubs and those types of things. They get involved in different charitable aspects. But this hurricane thing, this natural disaster thing, to me, one of the things, it was like an afterthought. Whether it be tornadoes, snowstorms, hurricanes, fires, what have you, then usually it's homes that are impacted, and we are in the home business. And if those homes are harmed, we lose closings, we lose revenue, we lose, and it's our staff, it's our people that are affected by this. So again, this is where I have this affinity for natural disasters and helping out. It is, literally to go and get people back, back to some sort of normalcy of life. So if you look, if anyone, if any of these are agents in Florida, I say next time there's a hurricane and you have happened to survive them, especially if you're, in the middle of the state and maybe you're just not as impacted. Those folks on the Gulf, they get hammered. The people on the Atlantic coast, the Keys, they get hammered and they really need help. So if there's any way for you to, if there's a way to give back, whether it be financially, giving of homes. I have so many friends who are agents nationwide who just literally see those hurricanes coming and go, hey, if your staff needs a place to go, if you guys need to drive north, if you want us to handle some of your files, that's the thing is like, there may be a natural disaster in Florida, but if a lender out of Washington state may not be aware of the disaster and it's not that they don't care, but there's rate locks and there's a transaction and there's still buyers and sellers happening. So that network and that community aspect of title insurance and the real estate transactions of what we do, I just say, just be aware and raise a helping hand and give back how you can.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for all the good work you do, and keep it up, brother. Let's talk about the state of the market. What are some key market trends you're seeing in the Florida real estate landscape, and along with the national level? How are they affecting the title professionals?
Well, these dang interest rates. I mean, I think everyone kind of feels the interest rate, but I think we're all waiting for, it's like you start to feel a little bit of good, and then the rate
tease.
Yeah, there's the tease, so I think look, I know I personally, I've been through the 01, I've been through 08. And if you think about a normal real estate cycle is 7 years up, 1 to 2 years down, right? Well, we just happen to go 14 years up, and then a COVID, and then weirdness, and so we were due for a 3 to 4 year recession. I mean, so whether it be a recession, downturn, what have you. So I feel that we're in year 3, entering 4, and so I mean, I think we're seeing some bottoming out in some markets. Natural disasters, hurricanes, and tornadoes do not help matters, because all they do is crush homes, build the inventory, and then people have to rebuild and all of that stuff. So I think we're seeing that in a lot of the Florida markets, Naples, Tampa Bay, especially the Panhandle. You're seeing all of that. The condo situation in South Florida is a disaster. Just the there's all sorts of economics there, but there's still just there is a demand. It's there, and whether it be executing or pent up, it's coming. So I think the long of it is, this year seems to be a lot like last year. Q4, Q1 of next year is what I'm kind of thinking. If I have a crystal ball, kind of thinking that's when it's going to get better. But I mean, honestly, as long as you've scaled your business, as long as you have right-sized it, and a lot of the agents I'm talking to, I mean, they've right-sized. They're profitable. Maybe not as profitable as they once were, but they're making money. They're getting by. And it's going to be, we will get through this together. And that's why I say the power of scaling your business, the power of having a flow in and out, outsource, whether it be outsourcing, insourcing, whatever, just to be able to serve, if you've got a tough month, or all of a sudden you lose a processor, and you can't hire fast enough, and I think that's an important piece of what there's an important piece, because I think what's going to happen too, we're going to see a mini refi boom at some point. Rates are going to drop. We're going to see a little bit of a push, and all of a sudden we're going to all get a flood of orders, and you better be able to execute on those.
So are there any new regulations or compliance issues that title agents should be paying attention to?
Since the CFPB just got gutted, I don't know. I don't know if we have the regulatory is always the wild card. It's highly.
The states are taking more, I guess, even the last 3 to 5 years, states taking more, but
it is. because you watch what happened in DC last year with the attorney generals, you're seeing some of the activities. Arizona has some activity. I mean, it's always scattered and around. But I'd like, there was talk of RESPA reform. And then now maybe actually some better guidelines put out, rather than being regulated by fear and regulated by, someone else getting pounded. How about let's know what we're allowed to do? I mean, I think a lot of people want to do the right thing, but right now we're bound by, in Florida, for instance, our title rules are 30 years old. So they didn't know about a RON. They didn't know about virtual office locations. There's still the regs still state like brick and mortar. I mean, but the world's changing. I mean, COVID changed us all. We're all working in a more of a centralized work from home. Here I am, I'm working from my home. So I think a lot of the regs need to catch up to where the industry and the technology is.
With more competition and it's a slower demand transaction-wise, and industry consolidation, how can independent title agencies differentiate themselves and stay ahead?
I definitely think I think you have to invest in your business, and that investment is in the technology side. You have to be at a point where you can do more with less. If it used to take you, 20 files per employee, then how do you get to 25 and how do you get to 30? Because if there's going to be higher competition, there's going to be margin compression. There's going to be, this like the big get bigger, and the small agent it's been at risk for years and years and years. But I think I think we're going to be walking into a world in coming years with the the changes that are happening with the clear cooperation rules, buyers agents commissions starting to go down. Yeah, I mean, look, real estate brokerages are going, in order to survive going forward, they're going to own their own mortgage and their own title and their own property and casualty insurance. I mean, they're going to have to in order to survive. So,
one-stop shop would happen with the Redfin and Rockets, and that's a future. I'm sure the stat, like last year 70% of agents did zero transactions, like realtors.
Yep.
So it's very few, 20-30% you gotta go after.
It really is. So you have to make a decision. I think it's going to be in the next 12 to 24 months. It's like, is this business for you? Is this what you want to do? If so, who are your agents now? And are they going to be, is there going to be pressure on them to use affiliated title services, the in-house title, that sort of thing? So if so, do you have alignment? Would being a partner with another title company or a network, or are you looking for an acquisition? I mean, just kind of, I think you have to think. People think about the next 12 months, but they really need to talk about, what's the next 3 to 5 years look like, and where do they want to sit in that?
Absolutely. What's your formula, or if there is one? How many employees per file? How many files per employee? And he said 25. I'm like, a 5 dream.
It literally is. I have, you hear people are like, oh, that's 50. And then some are like, 15, it's all over the place. So it depends on the type. It depends on your structure. Is your employee taking a file from soup to nuts? Or is it just a processor closer team, or is it just a closer who does so that's such a
as a global, let's say the end writers, that's
15 to 20 is always 15 to 20 has always been kind of a national average. I've heard
that's across the board, every single person, including leadership.
I think you have to carve out. I think you have to carve out sales. You have to carve out leadership. So this is just people actually working on the file. 15 to 20 always seems to be a number that has been there, but then you talk to people, and if they're out, if the processor doesn't have to order the HOA and the mortgage payoffs, and there's less communication with the agents, is this a purchase transaction with a realtor on both sides of the table, or is this an REO file? So all of those variables. So take out refis, take out REOs, take out like all cash deals, and then if it's boutique, is it high-end multi-million-dollar transaction with lots and lots of touch? It literally varies, but 15 to 20 has always been kind of a good number to use.
awesome. Well, we're coming to a close, and I always end the show with a couple of questions. One of them is, do you have a favorite quote?
You know, there's one of them. How about that?
What does it say?
Let's see. Let me see if I can get it there. Nobody cares. Work harder.
I love it.
You know that's and it's kind of it's like with us. We just say, I don't let the economy, don't let what others are doing, don't let what the market, just head down and row. Every once in a while, head down, row, grind. Every once in a while, look up to see where you're at. I think so many people just used to judge, it's always, looking at competitors and looking at all the other things. But at the end of the day, do what makes you happy. And if you are good at it as a small agent and it's a controlled environment and you love what you're doing and you're passionate about it, keep doing it. If you're looking for something better, then grind harder.
That's awesome. How about a favorite book or a favorite book you read recently?
All right. Well, I'm going to be a little bit promoting here, but this is literally, he's done such a great job with this. But my best friend in the world since 6th grade, worked in corporate for 30 years. He wrote a book. It is now a Wall Street Journal bestseller. USA Today. He's doing corporate coaching and all this other stuff. But so it's the book is begin with we, and it's it's 10 guiding principles around corporate culture. And so, but it's we hold ourselves accountable, and we do this as a team, and it really aligns with our culture of we. I never say someone works for me; they work with me. So that is so his name's Kyle McDowell. He's he's in the middle of writing a second book, and he just got a fantastic story to tell. So he's actually started to do a lot of coaching and consulting in the title world. So that's my guy.
That's awesome. Any final words to our audience?
Oh man, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, it'll say, its title is boring. Title is boring, but we make it really cool. I love this nerdy little industry. I mean, it was something as a young man I ran away from, and it's very unsexy, and half the people out there don't know what we do. I think my kids think I sell cars for a living. But man, if you're passionate about it, you're passionate about this industry, get active, get involved. And that's definitely something that's led to a lot of our successes is getting out there on the speaking circuits or networking at conventions and conferences, and just being active, because there's so many agents who aren't involved at all, and they're just head down and heads in the sand, and they're gonna let the world and industry and technology pass them by. So get active.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for your time and for sharing your wisdom.
Oh man, thank you, Mo. Appreciate it.
Well, that's a wrap up on today's conversation with Aaron Davis. What a masterclass on growth, leadership, and the future of our industry. If you get value from this episode, be sure to subscribe and share with your fellow title pros. And as always, keep leading, evolving, automating, and pioneering. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. See you soon.
In a world where change is the only constant, Mo Shamil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey